Big Friday morning for Kennedy, wasn't it?
Yeah, Kennedy Cavan, who does our social center, just said that you sound like Creed or something, right?
She came around the corner. I was playing actual Creed, and she came around the corner and goes, I thought that was you for a second. And meant it. You could tell. She thought it was, because it was like more of a him just singing. And she made a great coffee and bringing kolaches
next week
for signing day from her hometown of Caldwell, the real deal, and did a great job in the social center today.
Billy,
Big Friday for Kennedy.
Billy, I said this at the top of the show. It ain't no fun if the Aggies can't get none. It looks like Anthony Hill. No, not looks like.
What you said?
Yeah.
Well, fun.
You remember that song?
Get none. No.
Oh, I'll tell you later. I can't bring it up now. But
who is it by?
Snoop Dogg.
Dog fan.
You're not?
I was big. I was
92?
Big rap fan in that era. Outside of his first burst on the scene.
That first album,
you know, when he says
there.
1, 2, 3 until the 4. And then after that song, everybody else, yes. Snoop, no. Tupac,
do you remember the movie
Biggie,
that was from?
Yes.
Wait, that 1, 2, 3. I'm thinking of Deep Cover, the movie with Larry Fishburne.
Oh yeah, no.
You
That song, that video, all timer, and to me, Snoop's been downhill ever since. Until he was the cameo on Old School. That was pretty good.
I haven't liked Snoop in years, but Doggy Style, the first album in '92, was fantastic.
Yeah, that was good.
And that song I was singing there,
great album,
was on there.
Okay.
Yeah. Just the subject matter was not the same. Hey, so Anthony Hill goes to Texas.
Yeah.
Linebacker issue. We talked about it on the show today. They've got to fix it.
Got to fix this coffee.
Well, I thought it was good.
It's the pot.
Oh.
It's too watery. Yeah, they do have an issue because at every position on the field, they've managed to recruit 5-star type talent. You look at the D line, you look at the secondary, you look at corner and safety. You look at O-line. They've done it.
Mm-hmm.
They've done it at running back. They've done it at quarterback, and they've done it at wide receiver.
Yep.
They have not done it at linebacker, and they've gotten some good linebackers individually, but I don't. It's been a while since you'd say, like, man, the pipeline looks really good at linebacker. And right now today, the pipeline, there's a guy like Martrell Harris that I'm really excited about. There's a senior in Edgerrin Cooper who could have a breakout senior season, but there's really not much else. And that's a real problem. Yep. And Anthony Hill could have gone a long way towards solving that. But that's what the transfer portal's for, and there's a guy this weekend who could go a long way towards solving that as well in Mason Cobb.
Yep, hopefully they get that. So we talked about that on the show. We talked about the stats that define the 2022 season. We banked on it. Rudy updated us on the Rudy. Did I call you Rudy?
Rudy.
Rudy. I don't know where that came from.
I am an underdog story.
Liucci.
From the hard scrabble streets of Sugarland.
We did talk recruiting and OC stuff. All that is on the rewind. Our friend, Ethan Jones, did a little report on stats that defined the season.
Okay.
And I haven't really gone through all of these. I looked at 1 or 2 of them. So I want to be depressed with you as we do it live on air. Here's 10 stats to define the season from Ethan Jones. A&M averaged 37.4 carries, 186 yards rushing per game, and 4.8 yards in wins, while they only averaged 25.7 carries and 113 yards rushing in the losses, 4.4 yards in those. These stats show that when the Aggies were able to establish the run, like we know, a Jimbo Fisher team, they typically won. A prime example was, which game you think?
The win?
Yeah.
LSU.
Exactly. 38-23 win, 50 carries, 274 yards rushing, 5.5 yards per carry.
Now look at the Appalachian State game.
And how Appalachian State and others
or,
were able
or
to.
Auburn.
Or Auburn, exactly right. Auburn. Or Ole Miss.
I thought A-Chain actually ran the ball pretty well.
Oh, I was talking about what they did on us. I'm sorry. I was thinking that.
Yeah, well, we haven't gotten there yet. I'm sure that's coming.
It is. How about this? A&M averaged 13.4 completions, 6.6 attempts, passing yards, and 9.1 yard passes in wins. In losses, 21 completions to 39%, 229 yards passing. The stats combined with the previous stats show that when A&M was able to establish the run and hit explosive plays, they were able to win. However, when A&M had to heavily depend on passing, especially short yardage throws, they were more likely to lose. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. We can go back to Appalachian State. Oh, my gosh, there was so much. And other games, too. But, yeah, that one really stood out.
Now, here's one we've talked about recently, and we're not really sure how much we read into it, but I'll read it out loud. A&M was number 1 in the nation in passing yards allowed with only 156.2 per game. However, how does Stephen A. say it?
However,
Texas A&M was 124th in the nation in rushing yards allowed per game, 208.8 yards rushing. These stats show in the inconsistency of the Aggie defense. They had great moments defending the pass, but were exposed many times when facing the run.
we talked about it yesterday. It all starts with stopping. If you can't stop the run, you can't stop your opponent. Now, even if you have bad corners, maybe you'll get there on the pass rush.
Yep.
Maybe a guy will drop a pass. Maybe the quarterback will throw a bad pass. Maybe you'll get lucky that way. But if you can't stop the run, they'll just run at you.
What are you banking on?
I'm banking on because I have to, right? I have to. I'm trying to sell myself on this. I'm banking on that A&M is about to have some really good news from the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Because if not, what have I got?
I'm banking on 2 quality names this weekend. I don't know if that's Tony Grimes. I hope. I know he's going to visit. I hope. I know it's USC. I think Mason Cobb, according to Bronny the other day, is trending in the right direction. They're going to land at least 2 names that we're going to be talking about on Monday about how excited we are.
Well,
and
hope.
Maybe more. And I wouldn't be surprised if we can bank on a high school recruit out of left field saying, you know what? I like it. And by the way, I have no insider information. I'm not trying to tell you I've heard. I'm just telling you.
That's
I think
Jimbo's MO.
That's the Jimbo way.
The Jimbo MO.
The Jimbo way, no doubt about it. Look, there's this roller coaster ride of this offseason, this season, this year. I still think a couple of right moves, right back where I thought they would be.
Last year with Harold Perkins, that became so much more of a loss because of how he played.
Yeah.
Except at Kyle Field when he got his ass whipped. But that was because of how he played, it became much more of a loss. You know why? Because you signed that elite class, and Harold Perkins was just kind of one glaring miss. There were 2 in hindsight, and Kelvin Banks, but A&M kind of lost out on him earlier in the process.
Mm-hmm.
But that was one big miss out of a class of hits. It's different this year because, I think Anthony Hill felt like more of a solid commitment, whereas Perkins was immediately talking about he was going to take visits, and you knew that from that All-Star game on, that was going to be a little bit more of a roller coaster ride to the finish. Anthony Hill was committed and probably pretty solid. He committed this summer. He committed actually the day of our TexAgs kickoff.
Yeah.
So he commits then. He commits to Texas on the
I announced
TexAgs,
it during the kickoff.
TexAgs Christmas party.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's got good timing. But now it's so much more of a hit because, you need momentum in the worst way, whereas with Harold Perkins, that was just one tiny bit of non-momentum when you were rolling. Yeah. This is the opposite. You could have used that in the worst way. Secondly, your need at linebacker has become exponentially more glaring. It's to have 2 5-star linebackers, probably 2 of the 2 in the last since you've joined the SEC. They're the 2 best to come out of the state of Texas, and you had them both committed on back-to-back years, and you lost them both to teams you're going to be playing. Now, Anthony Hill has opted to go play in the Big 12 for at least 1 year, if not 2.
Yep.
But you're going to play him, and you're going to play Harold Perkins every year. And you needed those guys in the worst way. It is the one position that you have not been able to get over. And since Jimbo got here, with all that great recruiting, you've not been able to get over the hump and turn the corner. Now, has A&M had some good linebackers in the last few years? Yeah, they have. Underrated. You had one on the other day, Alaka, Dodson, Buddy Johnson. Now, these are Sumlin recruits, keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys were really good players at A&M. Another Sumlin guy, but played most of his career for Jimbo, was Aaron Hansford. Had a good final season. Edgerrin Cooper has been a good linebacker that they signed. But at every position, they've gone out and signed elite 5-star talent, and some of it's panned out, some of it's not. Some of it's transferred out. But elite 5-star talent at every position on the field except linebacker. They can't do it. They have been unable to do it. And this one hurts, I think, most because you lost them to Texas. It's a desperate need. You had him committed for a long time. And you know that at the end of the day, we could talk about all this stuff. You could talk about anything you want to talk about in his recruitment. In today's day and age of NIL, I don't hold that against any school, any player, anything. So if someone comes to me and goes, well, they did this, they did,
Doesn't bother.
I'm over it. Like I've been on the receiving end when I've seen them do that to A&M. It's exaggerated, it's lies, it's excuses. When, everyone plays that game. Arch Manning, everybody denies that. I refuse to believe that they've got money, they don't need money. Who doesn't need more? It's NIL. If he can get a couple million to go one place and not the other place, I mean, you don't think Georgia or LSU or Alabama tried to step up and elevate in Texas? It's a game that everyone, including A&M, plays. So scratch all of that out, and you say, why would that guy go to Texas over A&M? Because I think deep down, Anthony Hill wanted to go to A&M. I think that was his choice. I think he was happy in his choice. I think beyond everything else, the product on the field is what it was. And it was the losses. It was the kind of program momentum, but he didn't really go to a program with a ton of momentum. Although, see, here's the thing. Texas 5-7, 8-4. They think they've accomplished something. They hit the number that they made fun of A&M about for the last 5 years, or 10 years, whatever, 8-4. They haven't done anything. But the feeling amongst recruits this year, because of the start they got on the recruiting trail, is that they are ascending. That's all that matters. That's what Alabama and Georgia fans were saying about A&M last year.
Right.
How? Because they feel like they're ascending. And Texas created that momentum because of Arch. Jonte Cook talks a lot. That's all, you see him all over Twitter. Stuff helps. A&M had guys like that last year.
Yeah.
Bobby Taylor was one. He was a big recruiter. And then, to get the number one running back early in Cedric Baxter, who's a guy A&M really wanted and lost to Texas. Now, they worked out well for A&M because they got the Texan in Reuben Owens, who's every bit as good, same level exactly. Jimbo's got a guy. It's just some things have to play out. Sometimes it's a guy that something in their contract makes it easier for them in terms of the buyout to stay through January 1st or through the bowl game, whatever. That's not the case. A&M does not have a guy. I said the other day it was Petrino and two others. And I said last night on the boards, there's a third guy now. And I'm going to find out who that is this weekend, whether I say the name or not. But I'll let y'all know my level of excitement and what I think the fans' level of excitement will be. Because I think the two guys that are still on the list outside of Petrino aren't going to be like massive needle movers. They'll be known names, but not like to me, the needle mover was
Riley.
It was probably Garrett Riley.
Yeah.
I mean, Phil Longo was a big name in college football because of what they did this year at quarterback, but there'll be a lot of people asking questions about the move to Longo, and then you start diving into his offense, and you're going, Carolina fans weren't crying about him leaving at North Carolina in the ACC. So you got to get the right fit, and if you can get it to excite the fan base and in particular recruits and your current players, then you go into that. That's the home run you're looking for. But if you can't check all those boxes, the first one you have to check is that you believe that guy is going to come out and put a high-scoring, potent offense on the field from day one. It's non-negotiable at this point. But when that name comes out, I'm going to kind of determine myself first. Like, do I think that's a needle-moving name? But they're acting like it is.
I don't necessarily need a name. I need somebody who's going to do good.
Yeah.
When the Texans got Ed Reed, that was a name. People thought it was going to be awesome. It wasn't. There are sometimes names.
John Chavis.
Right. There you go. All right, friends. Please comment, like, subscribe, do all the stuff you're supposed to do. Season 4 of Yellowstone for me. I'm catching up.
Oh, good. I caught up this week. Yeah.
Pretty good show.
I was a couple behind.
You haven't done the prequel yet, right?
The Cowboys game Sunday, watched them eke out one over your Texans. Not my Texans, your Texans.
I'm an Oilers fan.
Me too.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah. We'll see you next.